Still a backbone in the Nutnfancy project, the old school KRV. It's still 2013. Thanks for watching, subbing, your friendship. It means a ton to me. I meet you guys all the time, out and about. Always doing gear checks on you guys. That's fun. Get your wallets ready, because here comes a 10 out of 10 on my likability scale knife. We'll talk about all the details, and I will set a time limit of 17 minutes or less for myself in this video. That's right, if I'm still talking 17 minutes, I'm shutting it off. It just depends on what's going on. A lot of competitive options, a lot of stuff to talk about. Usually it's actually the POU discussion that adds a lot of time. We'll get into that here in just a second, but first things first, this may come as a surprise to a lot of my subs here in the knife show. And by the way, that is a real table you're looking at. There's my hands. But I'm not always surfing on knife sites on the web. I'm not in the forums. I'm not doing, constant research for knives, because as you know, it's a big umbrella in TMP. There's a lot of gear, guns, knives, tactical gear, blah, 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 all that stuff. But every so often, maybe every other month, I'll jump in the websites of the manufacturers to see what's new, to see if there's anything that personally excites me that I want to bring to tabletop for you guys. And I will say, and I don't want to be a Debbie Downer here, but probably in the last year and a half, I haven't really seen that many things that have really excited me from the major manufacturers. There have been some really awesome knives from Spyderco that I've reviewed. I really love them. Kershaw, I haven't seen a heck of a lot that I really wanted to bring to table, and that's why you haven't seen them. In fact, I haven't seen any knife that I was really excited about. Same for Benchmade, truth be told. It's always changing, so 2014 could be a completely different time period. But that's kind of where we are right now, and that's why maybe at times you don't see a ton of knives, because I'm not personally excited about them, and the words just don't flow. Okay, that's not the case with this knife. Here we go. I better get going if I got a time limit. 10 out of 10, baby. Order them now. Cold Steel, Code 4. Sick. I've got 3 versions to show you, all in plain edge, and they are all just outstanding. I love, love, love these knives. Now, you guys in the knife show who have been following me for coming up, I don't know, 6 years or so, you know my preferences, what I like. I like the classic designs. I like thin, lightweight. It should be no surprise that I love these knives. But Cold Steel has been on it within the last 2 years. I mean, seriously, that's why I've reviewed a few of their knives at least, to show you, kind of like the new Voyagers. Just great designs. This is actually over 2 years ago, I think, when this one was posted in TMP. Great design, strong, fast, great value. Cold Steel Code 4 is on it. POU, I'm going to go fast with this since I'm on a time limit. Self-imposed, by the way. Not a defensive knife, I would say. The traction's going to be lacking in these blades. I'll just leave it at that. We'll look at it again in ergonomics, perhaps. Definitely a great EDC choice. Maybe on the large size, which, like I've said a bazillion times, a lot of guys like. 3.5-inch blade. That allows you to do a variety of tasks. Great EDC choice. Fabulous. Again, on the large size. Today, my EDC knife of choice is... I had this last knife review. The Twitch. I'm sorry, not the Twitch, the Blink. I get them confused. Great knife. Love this knife. So that's kind of, as you've seen before, my EDC knife. Definitely a great utility knife, a great food preparation knife. There's a spear point version, plain edge, of the Code 4. Nice drop point on that. And the Tanto, I actually like this one too, a lot in the Code 4. I don't know why, I just do. I'm not a huge Tanto guy, you guys know that, but in some blades, I really warm up to it. I like it this one. Incidentally, jumping into the Cold Steel catalog, 2013, they do have combo edges, if you guys like that. You can see them right there. Spear point there, plain edge. And as you know, I'm not super stoked still after all this time on the serrations that Cold Steel does. I just don't like them that much. They're not almost, they are impossible to sharpen. Once they dull, they dull. But a lot of guys like them. They could do it. And then with Christmas time coming up, gift. Absolutely. That's POU. Hope you liked it. Oh, let me throw this in. Perhaps emergency survival. What? How can you say that about a freaking folding knife, Nutnfancy? Because it's a triad lock. Jumping ahead to strength, and that is an extremely proven lock with my own testing, hardcore here in TMP. It just does what Demko and Cold Steel says it does. It's extremely strong. It transfers all the shock to the big old stop pin right there, not to the lock bar. So in a pinch, you can, and I have, batoned with Cold Steel triad folders. That's why. This would be a good time to show you probably the only competitive option I'm going to show you on the video. What? Remember this one? I reviewed this several years ago. This is the Boker Plus Titan. I believe that's a titanium handle on that. About 4.2 ounces, 440C steel drop point. Classic knife. And in a lot of ways, it's reminiscent of the Cold Steel Code 4 to me. Great, elegant knife. I was never super stoked on the 440C that Boker used, and it's a traditional locking bar design, meaning that all the force will be transferred directly to the lock bar, and if you tried to baton with this knife, I wouldn't recommend it. Never have. You're going to be sorely disappointed because it's going to fall apart on you. This is an elegant EDC knife, like I said in that review years ago. Notice how thin. We're going to revisit that again. But that's just a great option to show you, or a great alternative to show you a traditional lock back versus the ultra strong and self-wearing triad lock that we've shown a lot here with a lot of knife reviews. 4.2 ounces for these. That's an achievement. Huge achievement. That's very lightweight for a 3.5-inch bladed knife with that type of strength. Phenomenal. The feel is, we'll jump ahead and roll this into ergos, I guess, is, as you can imagine, thin in hand. The width that I measured is only 0.35 inches thick on this Mamma Jamma. And you are correct, it totally excites me. The thin knives excite me. The lightweight knives excite me. You will find this knife universally praised by anyone who's carried it because it is so unobtrusive. It carries well, it's thin, and yet when it deploys, you've got a big old knife. Relatively speaking, 3.5-inch blade, plenty of cutting power, plenty of shearing power. I love the thinness of this knife. Love it, love it, love it. This is 6061 aluminum scales on here, and it's anodized, and it really looks like a titanium, doesn't it? Just a really good looking handle scale. I meant to bring, I forgot, but the Sabinza in. Maybe I'll roll in a photo. And it reminds me of that handle material. It's a really rich titanium, gorgeous, very classy, upscale look to it. That's what the Cold Steel has. Now, hard wear and tear on this, I haven't done it yet, but I'm sure it's going to get dinged up. It's aluminum. You know, it'll show nicks, scratches, but come on, guys. That just makes the knife look cooler. Shows you've been using it. Steel is the very proven at this point OS 8A Sub-Zero quenched by Cold Steel. If you watch my other Cold Steel reviews, you see me just wail on this steel.
Great knife.
Hey, Nutton, does it keep an edge forever? Nope, it doesn't. Nothing does. I mean, you're talking whatever I've tested, it all dulls. You know, S30V, same. Sharpens readily, and it takes a very phenomenal edge. This is off the EPA, as you can see. This Voyager, I'm just showing you by way of reference. It's a great steel. I wouldn't say great. It's a good all-around steel. It's a great value steel. That's the way to put it. And this is tumbled right here. These are all polished. With that finish, it'll be a little bit more rust resistant, I think. I like the steel. It's good. Decent, especially for the price point. Remember, if you complain about the steel, you've got to be ready to ante up for the money you're going to spend on it, right? Different blade shapes. You could probably guess this is my favorite just because of its classic utility. That is the clip point, plain edge. There's that polished finish. These are hollow ground blades right here. Let's take a look at the tip on the clip. Medium strength, medium precision on that. Here comes the Tanto. 3.5 millimeters in thickness these blades are. That's also hollow ground with a strong Tanto style tip, which Cold Steel made famous actually and popular. Lynn Thompson, that was all his doing. And that looks like to be a stronger tip on the spear point, but just depends on where you're cutting, says I. Great piercing power though, especially all three I think would pierce in excellent fashion. How about the speed of these? Triad lock. First, when we talk about speed, we want to talk about this. The smoothness of the scales. Now, I do love high traction handles. I've said that forever, both G10 and textured FRN like this. Sometimes they're a little bit slow to bring out of pocket. And I think I have one here. Like the Cold Steel Espada series I reviewed in July 2013. There's one right there. That's my answer, just my JB Weld modification and painting job. That brings that knife out of pocket very quickly. There's also a triad lock. This is a tactical blade right here, no doubt. High traction G10, but it needs that modification to come out of pocket very quickly. For an EDC knife, do you really need to worry about that? It's just ease of use. You know, that it's easy to extract and bring into action, utility action. Very smooth, fast out of pocket. And then we'll look at the thumb stud, which is reversible. And by the way, this is a great lefty knife, the Code 4. And I love how Cold Steel does that. That you can unscrew that thumb stud and create a flat plane for the Edge Pro Apex or any consistent angle sharpener that needs that to grasp onto. Or if you just like that when you're manually sharpening. Really easy to do. All the Cold Steel knives, or most of them, are that way, and I just love that. So it's set up for right hand deployment there. You've got a cylindrical thumb stud, no Wizard of Oz issues. What that means is you can just find it very easily. There's no occlusion issues that I see. I would say the speed is excellent, especially for a lockback, which are not generally known as excellent deployers. This is not a waveable knife, so if you're looking for that, look elsewhere. But for an EDC knife, do you really need a waveable knife? It would be cool, you know, don't get me wrong. Speed on all three of these is excellent. I didn't see any stiffness in these either. This one we've been using quite a bit, this Code 4. These two are relatively new. But even out of box, this one seemed like it was nice. I think some guys were complaining that the Code 4s are really stiff, but I just didn't see it in 3 examples. So I think that's a pretty good sampling. How about the lockup? We've already talked about the triad, right? This has seen some pretty, like I said, heavy duty cutting. And let's see if there's any movements side to side. Nothing. No up and down. Of course, we would expect to find a adjustable pivot point. We do. It's just great. Lockup speed, I really couldn't see any improvement made on that at all. And same for strength. I think we hit that pretty good. How about the centering? I always like looking at this. Sometimes I forget my reviews. There's the Tanto version. Spear point version. I would say it's perfection on all 3 of these knives. Just perfection. The centering is excellent. Got that deep choil. Forgot to say that in Ergonomics. Is it so much that I would feel comfortable using this knife in a self-defense encounter? Probably not, because the side scales are so slick and there's really no, you guessed it, jimping topside. And with lockbacks, it's not a simple solution just to add skateboard tape like I've told you guys about before and shown you. Because this rotates up and down and you can actually get grit in that mechanism, and you want to avoid that. It can actually get really gritty down there. So I generally, on lockbacks, you've seen me do it before, but I've learned through the years it's not optimal to do it that way. I wish it did have jimping. If it had jimping right here, really, I know, freaking broken record, could really lock in. But Nutnfancy, you can't make every knife look the same. I know, I get it. The thinness, though, is just so exciting. Phenomenal. How about the clip design? Well, this one is set up, I think, for one of these I have set up for left-hand carry. I think it's a spear point right there. Yeah, this one right here set up for left-hand carry. So two clips included like they are with most Cold Steel knives. The clip is fine. It's polished stainless steel, as is the blade. Great thematic look on the Code 4s. They just look cool. Cold Steel may come out with different versions and different looks. How cool would it be if they came out with a blue handled version? Would that be sick? And a black blade? Although I think a lot of guys would complain about the black blade. They're like, oh man, it just wears so much. I think it'd look cool. Clip is fine. It is a medium deep carry, so you'll have just enough exposed here. Lanyard hole here. Look at the nylon right there. I need to like put a couple stitches in this so it holds. And this is just some, you know, off the donation shell casings we do at the website. I just use this cordage for the pistol casings. It's perfect. It just helps bring the knife out a little bit quicker if that's important to you. Not flow through construction. It is a lockback. There's your mini Torx if you want to take the handle apart. Service a knife. Good clip design. Would you like it blackened? I don't care. With this knife, I don't care. Crap, only 1 minute to go. Durability is going to be excellent, I would think. Triad lock, very proven. The steel AUS 8A is adequate. I have bent it before, AUS 8A, but it takes an edge just fine. And for the money you're going to be spending, which is going to be about $55, they're going to retail at about $100. It's a total win, these knives, totally. Really, with the quality you're getting in the Code 4, the strength, the steel, the titanium look, the knife really looks like it should be around $125. This Boker Plus Titan, great, elegant EDC knife, but the steel here blows this steel away, and so does the strength. This was $33. These are superior knives, and that makes them have a superior cool factor, says me. I love high value knives. TMP. See ya.